In the last paragraph, we have seen what are the poses of yoga or what are the positions of yoga. Now we are going to study some more benefits of yoga postures. So what are the benefits that we gain by practicing yoga? The first one is improve flexibility. Improve flexibility. Flexibility means able to move. All yoga postures contribute to the flexibility of the body. As a result, stiffness, aches and pains disappear. So, if we practice yoga, what happens is our body is able to move to any direction. As a result of this practicing yoga, we are just away from all the pain or stiffness. Likewise, all these things are just disappear from the body. Next, second benefit which we are going to learn is build muscle strength. So, all the muscles are being strengthened. Strong muscles give a good appearance and protection from arthritis and back pain. So, arthritis means that is a type of disease. Okay, swelling in the joints of the body. All the body parts there is some swelling. That's only called as arthritis. So, when our muscles are strengthened, we are just away from this disease named arthritis as well as back pain also. We don't get back pain. That's only here mentioned as build muscle strength. All the muscles have been strengthened. Next, the third benefit by practicing yoga. Perfect body postures. That means our body is always in a perfect or in a correct posture. Okay. Yoga postures require sitting comfortably yet upright. Regular practice helps to say goodbye to hunchbacks. Okay. Perfect body postures means we are able to sit in a correct position. The sitting posture always will be correct. As well as when we practice regularly or daily when we practice, what happens? We can just say goodbye to hunchbacks. Hunchbacks means you might have seen some people just having some hump on their back. That's only called as hunchbacks. So, they are just vanished from hunchbacks when we regularly practice yoga. Then next, the fourth benefit which we are going to learn is perfect body balance. Perfect body balance. The before one is body postures, that is the sitting position, everything becomes very perfect. The next fourth one is perfect body balance. A body is balanced in a perfect way or in a correct way. Flexibility provides strength to muscles which further helps in perfect body balance. So, when we are able to move the body according to our wish, we are able to balance the body also in a perfect or in a correct condition. Body balance is ideal for everybody, especially players who need to hold ball and at times fall and then quickly regain balance. So, body balance is ideal for everybody, but players, they have to more concentrate to this body balancing system. That is, when they just try to catch a ball or hold a ball, what happens? At times they may slip and fall. At that time what happens? They lose their balance. But if those people practice yoga, what happens? They can quickly regain this balance. That's the difference between the other members and those who are practicing yoga. Now we are going to study the fifth benefit of yoga posture. The fifth benefit is bring more oxygen to all cells, thereby strengthening all body organs and helping in weight loss. So, the fifth benefit is it brings more, this yoga posture brings more oxygen to all organs or else to all cells, thereby it gives strength to all body organs and helping in weight loss. If the person is overweight or extra fat, he becomes less weight. Deep breathing and breathing techniques such as Kapalbhati and Anulom Vilom. So these two are the breathing techniques. The breathing techniques are Kapalbhati and Anulom Vilom. So these two are the breathing practice. Out of this we just get the weight loss. Not only energize but de-stress the mind and provide more oxygen to the body. When we practice these breathing techniques, we not only gain energy, other than that we can be free of mind as well as provide more oxygen to the body parts. Anulom Vilom also helps in managing allergies. So there are different types of allergies that also we get rid of by practicing the breathing technique named Anulom Vilom that lead to the breathing troubles such as asthma and is great for good eyesight. By practicing this Anulom Vilom, what happens is it is good for eyesight, and if we have any type of allergy like asthma and all those things, we can just get rid of all those things by practicing this breathing technique. Next we can move to the sixth benefit, that is boost immunity and lower the risk of lifestyle diseases and heart attack. Okay, immunity means resistance power. So most of the body now, most of the people now they have got less resistance power. That means not able to get any disease. If they get any disease, what happens? They are not able to bear it. So when we practice this yoga posture, we get more resistance power and lower the risk of lifestyle disease and heart attack. There is a chance of getting rid of disease named heart attack. All are very much familiar with it. Yoga helps in lowering the stress hormone called cortisol. So there is a stress hormone called cortisol. When we practice yoga, what happens? We are just lowering, reducing that hormone. Okay. Cortisol gives us the food seeking behavior. So when we practice this cortisol, the stress hormone named cortisol gives us the food seeking behavior. That is the custom of having or the behavior of taking food. That also we are under control. That prompts us to eat when happy or sad, which leads to weight gain and lifestyle diseases. When we are happy or sad, what type of food we have to eat? All those things we are just under control when we practice this cortisol. Okay, what is cortisol? It is a type of stress hormone. The next one is help in increasing lymph drainage. That is the seventh benefit of yoga posture. That is help in increasing lymph drainage. What's meant by lymph? Lymph means extra fluid that is present in the body. That's only called as lymph. Yoga makes us contract and stretch muscles as we get in and out of postures and also while holding them. So when we get any yoga postures, what happens is we are just extending and reducing the muscles. We just extend or elaborate the muscle and reduce the muscle according to the postures. In this way, the lymph drainage is increased. Okay, that is the extra fluid is just going out. That is only lymph drainage. That lymph drainage is just increased. Lymph is a fluid rich in immune cells which helps to fight infection. So, what is lymph? Lymph is a fluid rich in immune cells. Immune cells means cells which got the power to fight against infection. Okay. So, that lymph is a fluid which is the fluid rich in immune cells which helps for fighting against infection, and destroys cancerous cells and disposes of the toxic waste product of cellular function. And also if we practice this lymph drainage, if we practice this yoga posture, we can get rid of this lymph drainage. Okay, cancerous cells means cancer causing cells, and it kills normal body cells also. It can destroy, this type of yoga posture can destroy even cancerous cells and disposes of the toxic waste product. The waste products in the cellular functioning part can be disposed, can be removed. Now we can move to the 8th one, that is help in relaxation. Relaxation means taking rest. The 8th benefit of practicing yoga is taking relax. Savasana is easy and very relaxing. Savasana, that means corpse pose. A person who is in the dead position, who is just lying very straight, that's only corpse position or corpse pose. Once perfected with the help of a yoga instructor, it lowers blood pressure and gives rest that is considered equivalent to deep sleep for 1 to 2 hours. When we practice the savasana, what happens is we are just equivalent, we are just simply taking deep sleep nearly for 1 to 2 hours. And if we do this savasana with the help of a yoga instructor or the one who is well versed in yoga, it helps in lowering the blood pressure. Okay, the blood pressure becomes lower, that is the blood pressure level becomes to the normal level, and we get a normal sleep also. Consider it before a tournament or an exam. When we go for a competition, we can just practice such type of relaxing asana. That's only called as savasana. Or when we just appear for an exam also, just before that or before day, we can just practice this relaxing exercise named savasana. Before also we have learned asana named Pavan Mukta asana, that is a newborn baby who's practicing as Uncle Rahul instructed. Now we can learn the last benefit, that is the 9th one. Last benefit of practicing yoga postures. Uplift mood if feeling sad. So when we feel sad, we can be energetic or we can boost up ourselves. How is it useful? Okay, sit in the lotus position. So how can we do it? We have to sit in a lotus position. If depressed, then try backward bend as directed by instructor. So we can do this position, this pose according to the instructor. If we are not able to sit in first in the lotus position, we can just bend backward and start the position. Lotus position or Padmasana is considered by many as the classic yoga pose. So this lotus position is called as Padmasana or it is called as classic yoga pose. Okay, what is it called? Classic yoga pose, lotus position or Padmasana, and often used for meditation. This Padmasana is always used for the meditation purpose. In this position, your legs become like the petals of a flower. So when a flower, when it is completely spread out, we can see petal by petal. Likewise, our legs become like a petal of a flower gently dropped open. The legs have been gently opened, so it looks like a petal. Yoga must become a way of life as it balances body, mind and spirit. Okay, so yoga must become the way of our life. That means we have to take it as a part of our life and practice it. Then we can have balanced body, mind as well as spirit. So when we practice yoga regularly, what happens? We become balanced in body, mind and spirit. That is intrinsic to a happy and successful life. When we practice this yoga, it becomes essential for us to become happy and successful person in the day-to-day life. So after listening to all these useful tips given by Uncle Rahul, Nikhil hugged Uncle Rahul and his friends expressed great gratitude. Nikhil was in great surprise, so he just ran and hugged Uncle Rahul. His friends just expressed their gratitude. Gratitude means expressing thanks. Yoga is so cool. Oh, as cool as Uncle Rahul. So they are just giving commentary that yoga is so cool. It is very cool exercise and it is as cool as Uncle Rahul. So let's also take up this message and practice yoga regularly in our day-to-day life, which is useful to have a healthy life. The message that we learned from this lesson is health is wealth, which pays more important in our day-to-day life. Now we can learn the new words and their meanings. First one, abrupt. Abrupt means sudden and unexpected, often in an unpleasant way. Sudden and unexpected, often in an unpleasant way. Next one, antics. Antics means funny postures. Antics means funny postures. Next one, arthritic. Next one is arthritis, a disease that causes pain and swelling in one or more joints of the body. A disease that causes pain and swelling in one or more joints of the body. Next one, cancerous cells. Cancerous cells means cancer causing cells and it kill normal body cells. And it kill normal body cells. Next one, discomfiture. Discomfiture means a feeling of unease. A feeling of unease. Next one, dumbfounded. Dumbfounded means unable to speak because of surprise. Unable to speak because of surprise. The next one, exhalation, the act of breathing out. Exhalation, the act of breathing out. Next one, flexing. Flexing means bending, moving or stretching. What is meant by flexing? Bending, moving or stretching. The next one, get rid of. Get rid of. Get rid of is an idiom. Okay, the meaning of it is to make oneself free of somebody or something. To make oneself free of somebody or something. Next one, cloud. Cloud means wearing a glove. Cloud means wearing a glove. The next one, gratitude, to express thanks. Gratitude means to express thanks. Next one, groovy. Groovy means attractive and interesting. Groovy, attractive and interesting. Hunchbacks. Hunchbacks means humps on people's back. Hunchbacks, humps on people's back. Next one, immune cells. Immune cells means cells in body that fights against infection and diseases. Cells in body that fights against infection and disease. Next one, intrinsic. Intrinsic, belonging to or part of the real nature of something or somebody. Belonging to or part of the real nature of something or somebody. Next one, jeering, laughing at somebody. Jeering means laughing at somebody. Next one, nailed the dart. Nailed the dart is an idiom. Okay, the meaning of it is made something certain. Made something certain. Next one, regime. A set of rules about food and exercise or medical treatment that one follows to stay healthy or improve one's health, or a system that one is following. Next one, sprinted. Ran a short distance very fast. Sprinted, ran a short distance very fast. Next one, squatting. Squatting means sitting on heels with knees bent up close to the body. Sitting on heels with knees bent up close to the body. Next one, strive. Try very hard to achieve something. Strive means try very hard to achieve something. Next one, tactics. The particular method used to achieve something. Tactic is the particular method that used to achieve something. Next one, twirled. Moved or danced round and round. Moved or danced round and round. Next one, winced. Suddenly made an expression with one's face that showed one to be in pain. Winced, suddenly made an expression with one's face that showed one to be in pain. Children, now we can move to the grammar part of this lesson, that is direct and indirect speech. Okay. So now we should know what is direct and indirect speech. Okay, when we say something directly to somebody, that's called as direct speech. When the message is conveyed to the third person, that is called as indirect speech. So now we should know how to write a direct speech. Okay, direct speech refers to the exact words used by the speaker. So these are the exact words used by the speaker. Direct speech, as I told you, one person just passing the information directly to somebody. That's called as direct speech. So that is the exact words. Okay. Then these words are placed within quotation mark. Okay. When we say this direct speech, it is just the exact words are just put inside quotation mark. The next one, the first word of the speech, that is the exact word, exact speech just starts with a capital letter. The next fourth one, a comma is placed after the reporting verb to separate it from the second part of the sentence. Fourth one is there is a comma between the exact speech and the speaker. Okay, there is in between there is a comma placed. So now here there is an example. Riya said, I am going to school. Riya said, I am going to school. Here Riya, it's a proper noun and it is beginning with a capital letter R. And after said you can see a comma. And the exact words used is I am going to school. It is inside inverted commas. And what we start in inverted comma, we just begin that word with a capital letter. This sentence we can just separate like this. Said. Said here we just call it as reporting verb. Okay, Riya said. That one, the said, the word said here we say it as reporting verb. And what is inside the quotes? I am going to school. That one we call it as reported speech. Is it clear, children? Riya said, in that the word said we call it as reporting verb, and what is inside the quotes, that is I am going to school, we call that as reported speech. Only if you know the difference between reporting verb and reported speech, later you can change that to indirect speech. Now you knew that the method of framing a direct speech. Now this direct speech we have to convert or change to indirect speech. Okay. So indirect speech is the speech which is said to the third person. Okay. Indirect speech is used to communicate what someone else has said. That is, the message is conveyed to the third person. Such type of speech only is called as indirect speech without using exact words. So, the exact speaker uses certain words, we can make some changes and inform to the third person. Such type of speech only is called as indirect speech. Here there is an example. The before sentence itself is made to indirect speech. Just look into the sentence. Riya said that she was going to school. The same sentence is changed to indirect speech using a conjunction called that. Using the conjunction that. So while changing direct speech to indirect speech, we have to follow certain rules. They are, in direct speech we had inverted commas, whereas indirect speech there is no inverted commas. Then conjunction is used to combine reporting verb and reported speech. As I told you, now you are very much clear of reporting verb and reported speech. Please make sure of reporting verb and reported speech. Then past tense is used in reported speech, but universal truths, habits and facts are reported in present tense. When we make changes to the tenses have been changed to past tense. But if those sentences are universal truth, the truth which is happening in the world, for example, sun rises in the east. Okay, it's a universal truth. Can we change it? No. So, when we change to indirect speech also, the tense remains the same. Likewise, the habits, regular habits, fact, all this in the reported speech also, in the indirect speech also, it remains the same. The tense is not changed at all. Now we can learn certain rules of direct and indirect speech, how to make changes or how to change from direct speech to indirect speech. If the reporting verb is in the present or future tense, reporting verb is the introductory word, that is said. For example, I told you said. If that the word is in present or future tense, the verb in the reported speech is not changed at all. The verb in the reported speech is not changed at all. I'll give you an example for that. The teacher says the boy was lazy. Here, which is the reporting verb here? Says is the reporting verb and it is in present tense. Okay, so that when we are changing that sentence to indirect speech, you can see the teacher says that the boy was lazy. Since the reporting verb is in the present tense, what is inside inverted comma we are not changing. As it is, we are just writing it, just using a conjunction that. The teacher says that the boy was lazy. Okay, that is one rule. The next rule, if the reporting verb is in the past tense, the verb in the reported speech is changed to past tense. For example, the reporting verb is said. What is inside the inverted comma, or we are changing that also to past tense. As I told you, given you an example, the previous one, that is Riya says I am going to school. The word said is in past tense. So that what is inside the inverted comma, we are just changing that also to past tense. That is Riya said that she was going to school. Okay, some more rules. When we are having the sentence, what is that is the reported verb or the reported speech in simple present tense. We have to change that to simple past tense. What is inside the quotes? Now, I am saying you to make changes what is inside the inverted commas. Okay, if it is in simple present tense, we just want to change that to simple past tense. If it is in present continuous tense, we have to change that to past continuous tense. If it is in present perfect tense, we have to change that to past perfect tense. And simple past we have to change to past perfect. Past continuous just change to past perfect continuous. Whatever is in present tense, we just want to change that same to past tense. If it is in past tense, we just want to change that to past perfect tense. Now we can see the conversion of interrogative sentences. Okay, when the sentences, that is the direct speech, when it is given in interrogative form, how to change that to indirect speech. So, do you know what's interrogative sentence? Question type of sentences are called as interrogative sentences. What are interrogative sentences? Question type sentences are called interrogative sentences. So, if the sentence, that is direct speech, is in interrogative sentence form, how to change that to indirect sentence? Okay. So, now we may be having said to or told, that we are changed to, that is in the introductory verb or reporting verb. Okay, in that place we may be having said to or told. Those things we have to change to inquired or asked. The second one, questions starting with WH questions. WH questions you may be knowing, who, what, when, where, why, such type of questions where do not use conjunctions. Okay, those places when we use WH questions, we don't use conjunctions. When we are changing to indirect speech to connect to introductory verb and or a reported verb and reporting speech, we are just connecting it using the conjunction that. Here, when it is WH question, we are not using conjunction. Then, yes or no answer type questions, that is the questions starting with the helping verb. Which are helping verb? Is, are, was, were, are. Using all these words when we frame question, we get the answer yes or no. In such type of cases, the conjunction we use is if or whether. If or whether. Now, I'll give you an example. Okay. He said to her, where do you live? That is a direct speech. Okay. He said to her, where do you live? It is starting with the WH question. So, when we are changing that to indirect speech, it is likewise. He asked her where she lived. Okay. There is no conjunction used. But when we have helping verb, we can use the conjunction if or whether. Next one, conversion of imperative sentence. So, now we should know what is imperative sentence. What is imperative sentence? Any type of command, request, order, advice, such type of sentences are only called as imperative sentence. Now, the sentence, the direct speech is in imperative sentence. How can we change that to indirect speech? Okay. Reporting verb is changed to command, request, order, advice, etc. Okay. So, now you know which is reporting verb and reported speech. Okay. No conjunction is used to be used to introduce the reported speech. Here, imperative sentence, when it is in imperative sentence, we don't use any conjunction. The verb in the reported speech is used in the infinitive form. The verb in the reported speech is used as infinitive. Infinitive means 2 plus verb. Okay. Here there is an example. Shalini said to Manisha, please bring me a cup of tea. Please bring me a cup of tea is a imperative sentence. Okay. It's a type of request. Okay. Now, in that, the introductory or the reporting verb we are changing to requested. Here it is likewise. Shalini requested Manisha to bring her a cup of tea. We are using here infinitive, removing the word please from the sentence and starting with the infinitive 2 plus verb. That is reported speech or indirect speech. These are the rules which you have to learn while you are changing direct speech to indirect speech. Please work out the exercises and go through the notes very clearly. Children, I hope the lesson is clear. Read the lesson as well as grammar part several times. Work out the exercises. See you in next class. Bye.